On the dictionary page project, we'll be using colored pencils. And I've shown you another video on my channel which shows you how to get different values from one pencil, shows you how to do layered pencils, layered colors, and shows you how to burnish with a white pencil. And we've already watched that in class, so I'm going to show you how to use those techniques right here. And I've gone ahead and used a regular pencil to lightly sketch in my bow because I'm on the page that says bow. And you notice also that I filled up my page, which is really important. So everything you see here right now was done with this one pencil. And the way I got different values was by pressing harder. And you know, that sounds like common sense, but there are a lot of people that don't think about that. They think, well, it's a color, so I just have to color it in and I'm done. But you can see there are lighter and darker versions of the same color. So here's how I get more value out of one pencil. It's really easy. All I'm doing, pressing a little harder. And y'all have done values before. And I decided I want it darker here where it's near the knot. And I'm going to let it get lighter as it goes out. So I'm just not going to press as hard. And I'm going to go even darker right there. Okay, so I have it darker going into light. Make this a little darker too. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with this part of the bow here, little tail. And don't be afraid to press hard with your pencils. Sometimes students are worried about, oh, I'm going to break the point or I'm going to use it up. That's not a big issue. You can always sharpen the pencil again, and then if you run out of pencil, you get another one. I'll bring my darkness down a little bit more in this one. Notice too, when I'm shading, I'm not shading straight across, I'm shading with the curve. We talked about that when we were doing the reverse shading with the still life drawing. Okay, I'm just going to let it blend a little bit, going a little darker in here, pressing harder. Okay, so that's an example. I'm going to make it darker here. That's an example of using one pencil to get many values. All right, so that's something that you should try with your drawing. Now, a second thing to do is called layering. And as you saw in the video, and as we did in our sketchbooks, you have to practice the colors on top of one another. Sometimes you put colors together in thin layers and they look terrible, and other times they look awesome. I have a whole bunch of blues here. In fact, when I started out, I got all of these, here comes my white, all of these different color blues to use. And you can see that I use this one right here for the actual bow. So I'm going to pick a darker blue to make some of my shadows even darker by layering the color on top of one another. Okay, I have this one right here. And where I have a dark value, I made it darker by pressing harder, but I'm going to layer a color on top, just like this. I love layering when I do colored pencils because it gives it a richer color. Now, if you hear some noise in the background, my dog has decided to throw around the toy while I'm making this video. At least she's not barking. Okay, and you can see the difference on that. Get a little darker in there. Like that. I'm going to go over here and do the same. And again, all I'm doing is putting a light layer on top. I'm not trying to cover up the first color. I'm trying to enhance it and make it richer by blending another color with it. And that makes your drawing look more three-dimensional. Okay, let's go over to the knot because I'd like to do that here as well. Now let's say you're working on it and you're like, well, you know, that's not giving me as dark of a value as I want. You can press harder, or you can choose an even darker pencil. I would not use black. You could experiment with it, you know, in your sketchbook or in a scrap piece of paper and see what you think. But black's pretty strong for a colored pencil drawing. Next time you go reaching for black colored pencil, try maybe navy blue and see what happens with that. I'm going to try something here. Ah, there we go. That's better. I had the light on the camera and it wasn't showing these as dark as they are. They're actually even darker in real life. Okay, so that's layering. Now, does it have to be the same color all the time? No. You can choose different colors, layer them on top, try violet over red or blue and green and see how that works for you. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you is burnishing, and that's with my white pencil. And burnishing is just a way of blending. And I'm going to take my white pencil and I'm going to go over an area that I've already put some color in. Let me move this down here a little bit. And I'm going to take my white pencil and go over it, and what it does is it smooths everything. It doesn't make it too much lighter, just a little bit. But it smooths it. And that's a good way to blend if you want it to look very smooth. I'll do some on the knot here as well. It really smooths it. Now be careful if you're changing colors when you're burnishing. Say I was doing this and going to go to an area that was green. I would have to take this blue off of here. You can do it with your fingernail, or you can do it on another sheet of paper. Just go ahead and rub it and it'll come off. Burnish a little bit more over here. I like that. It's one of my favorite ways to blend with colored pencils. All right, so those are 3 different techniques that I showed you, where you're using one pencil to get several values, excuse me, using colored pencil to layer to make areas darker, like that. And then lastly, using the white pencil to burnish. Now this is far from finished. I'm going to introduce another color into these areas, but I just wanted to give you an idea of these techniques. I'm going to play with it a little bit more, just like that. I like this area to look like it's deeper, so I'm going to darken it a bit. Yeah, I like that. I picked a darker colored pencil this time. And I like that effect a lot better. Shows up a little bit more. Then I'm going to go ahead and burnish it. Okay, so there are 3 techniques that you can use on your dictionary page. Make it look a little bit more 3D.